This world is a place where the blood of the weak is spilled and the strong drink it. A deer grazes peacefully on the herbs in a dense forest. Hidden in the foliage, Johann Eitz aims his bow while his instructor whispers for him to stay calm. Johann pulls back the string with immense pressure. He releases the arrow the moment Joseph gives the signal. The bow snaps with a thunderous crack instead of firing properly. The deer flees in terror at the noise. Joseph screams Johann's name in pure frustration. Johann laughs nervously and holds up the broken weapon while claiming it snapped because it was too old. Joseph grabs his head in agony while shouting that he bought his beloved Angela brand new just a week ago. Joseph weeps while asking why a noble insisted on learning hunting for no reason. He yells that Johann could have just learned swordsmanship instead. Johann states that swordsmanship does not make money until you get hired. He declares that they should move to another spot because he needs money to survive in this rotten world. The narrator reveals that Johann Eitz was born as Kim Johann and reincarnated into this world after an accident. He knows that being reborn as a noble is pointless because he is at the bottom of the hierarchy. He worries that he will be stripped naked and kicked out during the family power struggles. Joseph suddenly stops him while pointing nervously toward a pack of wolves devouring corpses in the dark. Johann looses an arrow toward the beasts. The shot misses, and the loud impact alerts the wolves to their position. Johann stares at the gruesome scene while nodding that the theme of this world is a realistic medieval era. He watches the wolves desecrating the bodies and remarks on the cruelty. He wonders if the dead are from their village. Joseph says it is hard to know but confirms that the weak are nothing but prey for the strong. Johann tightens the bandages on his hand while resolving to avoid becoming prey. He recalls how he frantically searched for a status window when he first awakened, but realized no such cheats exist here. He confirms his absolute goal is money. He imagines a golden coin while plotting to leave the territory to become a merchant or a free farmer. He smiles greedily while vowing to scrape together every coin he can find. Joseph calls out to show him a plant called Little Devil Grass. He explains that the rare herb stops bleeding and boosts alertness. Johann interrupts the lecture to ask if it is expensive. He grins upon confirmation and stuffs the herb into his gear. Joseph spots a dropped herb pouch on the ground. Johann denies dropping it. Joseph realizes with horror that no one else comes this deep into the forest, and deduces that someone else must be here. A terrifying scream echoes through the woods. Joseph turns pale with shock. They run toward the noise and find a young girl clinging to a tree branch while wolves circle below. The girl cries for someone to save her. Joseph identifies her as Robert's daughter Dell and wonders why a child is in the deep forest. Joseph panics at the sheer number of wolves and insists they fall back to call for backup. Johann ignores the warning and leaps into the clearing. Joseph screams that these are man-eating predators. Johann calmly tells Joseph to rescue Dell while he draws the pack's attention. Joseph is stunned that a noble would offer himself as bait for a mere commoner. Johann grins while realizing this place is a goldmine filled with at least 10 wolves. He laughs while calculating the fortune he will make from selling their pelts. He yells at his precious moneymakers to wait for him. Joseph watches in confusion as Johann charges with strange footwork. A wolf lunges at him. Johann blocks with his sword. The beast shatters the blade with its jaws. Johann looks shocked as the weapon snaps. Another wolf seizes the opening to bite his neck while Joseph screams his name. The scene shifts to the Eitz family territorial inspection in Baltroden village. Concubine Madame Eitz covers her nose while complaining about the foul smell. The first son Philip Eitz rides stoically behind her. The lord of the territory Jessen Eitz drunkenly curses the miserable countryside. Philip apologizes while reporting that Johann is absent from the procession. He asks if he should send soldiers to find the brat. Jessen yells to forget about the dimwit and claims he does not care if Johann dies somewhere like his wretched mother. Jessen halts his horse before a strange pile of straw stacked at the village entrance. The villagers tremble while explaining they covered the area because Johann's training left ugly traces. Jessen scoffs at the idea of a bug like Johann training. He suddenly freezes in shock when the straw is pulled back. He stares wide-eyed at a massive tree trunk that has been deeply gouged by the force of human fists. Back in the forest, Johann blocks the fatal bite with his wrapped forearm. The wolf realizes its fangs cannot penetrate his arm just as he kicks it away. Johann admits that fighting with a sword is not his style. He assumes a brawling stance and invites his adorable moneymakers to attack. He declares that he needs money to avoid becoming prey. He decides to use strength overwhelming enough to transcend human limitations. Joseph watches in disbelief as Johann punches a wolf's head into the ground. Johann grabs another beast and slams it down with brutal force. He obliterates the pack with bare-handed violence. He stands amidst the corpses covered in blue aura and asks how much all of this is worth while smiling manically. Johann acknowledges that he had no choice but to accept a harsh truth. Life in this world is not easy. His realization stems from a childhood defined by suffering. He recalls being tormented constantly by his brothers, who held rank 2 and rank 3 in the family hierarchy. They stomped on him to show off their higher status and hurled insults whenever they pleased. One brother shouted for the illegitimate brat to die, asking how a motherless bastard dared to talk back. Through this relentless physical and verbal abuse, Johann began to understand just how merciless this world truly is. He internalized a grim certainty that even if he got beaten to death like this, no one would care. He concluded that the only person he could rely on was himself. He constantly asked himself what he needed to survive in a medieval world. Fortunately, Johann possessed one distinct advantage over the people of this era. In his past life, he was a modern student who studied endlessly for jobs and countless exams. His head holds knowledge that medieval people could not even imagine, ranging from political science and sociology to economics, exercise science, TOEIC, and nutrition. He decided to use that intellectual edge. He specifically utilized exercise science and high-intensity training to transform himself. He runs frantically through the village to build his stamina. Villagers look at him with confusion, asking why he is eating discarded food. Despite their judgment, Johann devours oats, cabbage, beans, and quail eggs with gusto. He retorts that these are superfoods, perfect for constructing a nutritionally balanced diet. He created a strict training regimen based on modern exercise science and practiced practical close combat martial arts. Results accumulated over time. After several years, the fruits of his labor become visible. He unleashes a massive punch against a tree, creating a thunderous impact. With each training session, his body displayed even more overwhelming strength. He wipes sweat from his muscular frame, noting that he feels refreshed rather than exhausted. As time passed, no one knew whether this strength was a blessing from God or a new trial. Returning to the present moment in the forest, Johann stands over the carnage he created. He comments that it looks like that is the last of them. Nearby, the companion Joseph checks on the child Dell and asks if she is hurt anywhere. The terrified girl bursts into tears and thanks goodness she is safe. She cries out for Uncle Joseph. Joseph sighs in relief but immediately pivots to scolding his master. He tells Sir Johann that he was unbelievably reckless. He asks if Johann understands how dangerous that was. However, Joseph's tone softens into admiration. He admits that he is moved by Johann's honorable action. He finds it incredible to think that a noble stepped in front of a wild beast without a moment's hesitation for the sake of a young serf. Joseph expresses deep thanks on behalf of the villagers. While Joseph delivers this heartfelt speech, Johann is mentally in a completely different place. He holds up two dead wolves by their tails. He thinks to himself with a greedy snicker, wondering which one will sell for the highest price. Joseph catches the mumbling and asks what he said. Johann plays dumb, claiming he said nothing. Johann changes the subject to the girl. He confirms her name is Dell and asks if she is hurt. Dell trembles as she looks at him. She answers that she is fine thanks to him and expresses her gratitude. Suddenly, a terrifying red pressure emanates from the darkness behind them. A monstrous growl echoes through the trees, causing the red aura to flare. Dell freezes in terror. Joseph and Johann turn slowly to see what is happening. A giant wolf with glowing red eyes and massive fangs looms over them. Joseph screams in horror, identifying it as a monster. He grabs Dell and shouts at Sir Johann that they must run. He declares that a monster like that requires an entire army to face. Johann realizes something crucial at this moment. He thought this world was just a normal medieval world, but he now understands there are monsters here too. He smiles confidently and addresses the beast. He asks if it is their leader. He apologizes sarcastically, stating he killed all its underlings. He explains that wolf pelts sell for a high price. The giant wolf growls, staring him down. Johann can feel it. This thing sees him as prey. However, Johann does not care. He asserts that it does not matter what the creature is. He declares that its hide will sell for even more. The monster pounces, snapping its jaws. Johann deftly dodges the attack and delivers a powerful punch directly into the beast's face. The impact is heavy, but Johann immediately notices a mistake. He curses, realizing he scratched the hide. He laments that the price will drop because of the damage. The monster wolf roars in fury and pain. A massive sound wave hits Johann, forcing him to cover his ears. Suddenly, the world shifts violently around him. His vision warps. He sees flashes of a chaotic battlefield, a knight in a helmet, and the sensation of being cut. He screams in agony as he feels his strength draining away, wondering what this sensation is. He collapses to the ground. Johann wakes up with a jolt, screaming in terror. He sits panting heavily on the forest floor, sweating profusely. He looks around in confusion, asking what just happened. He checks the area for the monster, but the red-eyed beast is gone. He wonders aloud if it simply left. He looks over to see Joseph and Dell sleeping soundly nearby. He observes that it looks like everyone is safe. He admits he does not know what happened, but since monsters could appear again, they need to head back quickly. He carries Joseph and Dell on his back and begins the trek home. As he walks, he looks back with deep regret at the wolf corpses littering the ground. He internally mourns that he wanted those wolf pelts. He resigns himself to the loss, thinking there is not much he can do, and resolves to borrow a wagon next time. He notices the village ahead is still bright despite the late hour. He wonders if the villagers are all out searching for Dell. A greedy fantasy begins to form in his mind. He thinks that even if he did not mean to save Dell, he could earn some points with his father. He imagines a cartoonish version of his father tearing up with joy. He pictures his father amazed that he defeated a wolf pack and hereby naming Johann his successor. Johann snickers but quickly dismisses the thought as impossible. He settles on a lower expectation. He thinks maybe his father would at least appoint him to the guards. He reasons that if that happened, he wouldn't have to worry about food anymore. His thoughts are interrupted by a blazing torch thrust into his view. Knights on horseback surround him. A blond man at the front screams his name. It is his brother, Philip. Philip demands to know where Johann has been. He screams, asking how Johann dares to disappear on the day of father's inspection. Johann freezes, his face pale. He realizes with horror that the inspection was today. He thinks to himself that he is screwed. The crowd of soldiers murmurs, calling him an insolent brat. A massive armored boot steps heavily onto the ground. Johann gently sets Joseph down and drops to his knees. He stammers out an excuse to his father, claiming he truly had unavoidable circumstances today. His father cuts him off instantly with a single word, silence. The large man draws a massive, ornate axe from his back. He glares down with furious eyes. He asks how Johann dares to ignore him. He threatens that he will crack open Johann's insolent head for this disrespect. Johann internally curses, realizing he is stuck listening to insults right after barely making it back alive. He fumes about the wolf pelts he failed to collect, lamenting how hard his life is. However, a manipulative thought crosses his mind. He decides to stop wallowing and instead create an opportunity out of this disaster. He pivots to ultimate ass-kissing. He screams that he was not absent from the inspection on purpose, but was late because he was saving people from the forest. Suddenly, a villager screams the name Dell. The frantic father rushes through the crowd. He embraces his daughter, thanking God she is all right. He sobs openly, saying he searched for her everywhere and is just so glad she is safe. Johann seizes the emotional momentum. He gestures dramatically to the weeping family. He yells to the crowd to look at this scene. He explains that Dell was surrounded by a dozen human-eating wolves in the woods. He declares that he fought to save the child and defeated the wolves. The villagers gasp, whispering in shock and admiration. Johann continues his speech with knightly flair. He admits he was unable to participate in the inspection, but claims he believes he did his duty as a son of a knight household. He bows to a perfect 90-degree angle before his father. He asks his father to forgive him just this once. He vows to continue doing his best for the safety of the estate. Then he pushes his luck. He mutters greedily, suggesting it would be great if his father could also give him the guard captain position. Philip winces in irritation. Johann internally grins, convinced that was perfect PR for himself. He thinks that if he were the interviewer, he would have hired himself right away. His father bursts into laughter. He mocks Johann, calling him the dear precious future guard captain. However, the laughter cuts off abruptly. The father asks where these wolves are. He scowls, stating he does not expect Johann to believe him without any proof. Johann panics internally. He insists he is not lying and even met the great dark wolf. His father screams silence. A massive roar of fury erupts from the large man. He demands to know how Johann dares to lie to him. He threatens to rip that mouth of Johann's open. Johann changes tactics. He asks if his father wants a duel or something. He offers to prove his skills right now. Johann internally admits he doesn't want to fight his dad even if he hates him but sees no choice. His father grins menacingly and agrees. The large man accepts the challenge to see how skilled Johann really is. He orders Johann to raise his sword. He stipulates they will duel using nothing but a weapon. Johann freezes. He curses internally, realizing his father never taught him how to use a weapon. Johann stands awkwardly. His father demands he unsheath his sword. Johann looks down at the broken handle of his blade and can only let out a weak noise. His father calls him a piece of shit. He orders Philip to lend Johann his sword. Philip reluctantly agrees. Philip steps close to hand over the weapon. He whispers urgently to Johann. He advises him to beg for forgiveness now, stating it is the only way to make it out alive. Johann ignores the warning. He retorts that begging isn't an option because he didn't do anything wrong. He grabs the sword and declares that a man doesn't run away. He pushes past Philip. He tells his brother to move. Johann steels himself, hopping to learn from this duel. He reasons that if he shows the people here how skilled he is, even his father will have to acknowledge him. He prepares to prove his worth. A monstrous red aura suddenly explodes around the father. Johann stares in horror, wondering what the hell that energy is. His father attacks. The sheer force shatters Johann's borrowed sword upon impact. Johann groans in pain as debris flies. His father strikes him, accusing him of being a parasite. He delivers a heavy blow to Johann's guard, screaming about how Johann dares to insult him. Philip and the villagers watch in terror. A villager whispers that the Lord is serious and really means to kill Johann. The father swings his axe with brutal force. He reveals why he never taught Johann to wield the sword, because he would still be a useless piece of shit either way. He taunts Johann, stating that no matter how hard he tries, he will never surpass him. The father enters a frenzy. He screams that his estate is his and his alone. He yells that no one can take it from him, not Johann, not the emperor, not anyone. Johann, struggling to see through the blood running down his face, wonders what the hell his father is on about. He asks himself if the old man has lost his mind from alcohol. Philip screams Johann's name as another massive attack comes down. Johann desperately blocks. The force is overwhelming. He admits defeat in his mind. Johann collapses to his knees, utterly beaten. His father looms over him, sneering. The large man tells him to know his place. He vows that if he ever sees Johann again, he really will bash his head in. The father stalks off into the darkness, leaving Johann kneeling in the dirt. The crowd remains silent until one voice whispers Sir Johann's name. Later, inside a small building, Priest Valberg fumes with indignation. He asks how Sir Jessen could be so unfair. Johann, now bandaged, tries to hush him. He asks what if someone hears them. The priest snaps that he does not care. He states he is from the Vatican, so he doesn't need to care. Valberg rants that a knight should have honor. He questions how a father could treat his son like that. Johann smiles wearily. He insists he is fine and points out that at least he is alive. Valberg scoffs at the ridicule of it all. He points out the Lord was dressed in full armor. Johann laughs, suggesting his dad must have lost his mind from all the drinking. Johann leans back, resigned. He accepts that this is reality. He admits he never learned how to use the sword, but claims he didn't know he was this powerless. Valberg offers perspective. He notes that Sir Jessen has been in many battles. He explains the Lord inherited family techniques and has experience. He concludes it only makes sense that Johann lost. He recounts a story about Sir Britz in the next estate over. He says Britz killed 300 serf soldiers on his own. Johann is shocked. He exclaims that killing 300 on one's own is amazing. Johann lies on a table, reflecting. He admits technology is important. He confesses he thought he could easily defeat his drunkard of a dad because he fought off a huge black wolf. Valberg stops abruptly. He asks with wide eyes if that is true. He asks if Johann really saw a black wolf in the forest. Johann sits up, confused by the reaction. He confirms it, adding that Joseph and Del saw it too. Valberg covers his mouth, muttering, "Oh dear God." Johann asks why. Valberg pulls out an old book. He explains that ever since long ago, black wolves have been seen as taboo. He states the priests call them an omen of death. He reads from the book, saying according to century-old stories, black wolves come bearing death and blood. Johann listens with a skeptical expression. He says he doesn't believe in stuff like that. He rationalizes that maybe the wolf was a premonition of his duel with his father. Valberg agrees that maybe that is so. However, the priest forces a smile. He tells Johann not to worry. He assures him the stories are just old tales. He suggests that perhaps God is helping Johann since he is a good person who puts others above himself. Johann freezes. He wonders to himself, me. He admits internally he just wants money. Meanwhile, near the Eights estate in the Britz barony, chaos reigns. Flames consume the night. People scream for help. A soldier brutally slashes a fleeing civilian. A woman begs for her life before being cut down. Blood sprays across the ground. A motionless hand lies in the dirt. An armored soldier stands over a corpse. He asks why they try to run away, nodding they are going to die either way. The soldier remarks that this is sure cruel. He mentions killing everyone in the estate and burning all the bodies. He immediately dismisses the thought, saying who cares. He declares they just do their work and get their gold. In front of a burning building, a mercenary approaches a large, cloaked figure. He addresses Sir Karamov. He reports that the mercenaries have finished cleaning up. He hands over the seal ring of the Britz family. Karamov takes the ring in his armored gauntlet. He crushes it effortlessly. He grumbles that he had high expectations because he heard Britz killed 300 serf soldiers on his own. He notes Britz didn't even last 2 attacks. He sneers that the man is not even worth being called a toy. Karamov introduces himself. He is the sword of the Holy Empire. He is His Imperial Majesty's proxy. He is the recollector of seals. He decrees that he will punish all corrupt nobles as His Imperial Majesty wishes. He addresses the army of soldiers standing before him amidst the fire. He declares that all who are with the Emperor will be rewarded infinite gold and honor. He raises his fist. He orders them to kill, steal from, and burn them all. He points his finger forward. He shouts for them to go. He announces that the Eights estate is next. The army of soldiers, their eyes glowing red in the darkness, grins viciously as they march toward their next target. The clash of steel rings in the darkness. 2 armored figures fight to the death on a shadowy battlefield. One combatant moves with fluid grace, parrying each of his opponent's frenzied attacks with casual ease. The skilled warrior finds an opening and swings a gleaming sword. Johan's vision goes blurry as he watches the blade decapitate the opposing knight. The severed head tumbles through the air. As it hits the ground, Johan stares at the face within the helmet. A silent shock pierces his heart. It is his own face staring back at him with dead eyes. Johan wakes up in his bed with a scream. He bolts upright, drenched in sweat, panting heavily. He asks himself if it was just a dream. He holds his pounding head, trying to shake the lingering terror. He admits he has been having the same nightmare for days, ever since he saw that black wolf. He remembers Priest Valberg's voice echoing in his mind. The priest explained that since ancient times, the black wolf has been known as an omen of misfortune. The very existence of the creature is considered bad luck, spreading blood and bringing death. Among priests, it was even named the sign of death. Johan grips his face, squeezing his eyes shut. He forcefully rejects the idea, dismissing it as superstitious nonsense. He tells himself it is just a tale from a legend. He laughs nervously, reasoning that it's not like he ever did anything bad to the black wolf. His laughter dies instantly. A memory surfaces, the moment he hurled a massive rock directly into the creature's face. He freezes. He sheepishly admits to himself that he did throw a rock at it, and a very big one at that. He groans, telling himself to forget it. He adopts a fatalistic attitude, deciding that whatever happens, happens. He jumps out of bed with renewed resolve, declaring that he has had enough useless thoughts and that it is time to go train. The sun sets over a golden hill where Johan trains alone. He wraps his hands, preparing to punch a massive tree. A voice interrupts him, calling out, "Hey, you worthless brat." Johan pauses and turns his head. Standing behind him are his two brothers, ranked second and third in the family. One brother asks if he already forgot what father told him. The other chimes in, mimicking their father's voice, saying that if Johan doesn't want to die, he shouldn't make himself noticeable. The brothers sneer at him. They mock him for acting cheeky. One brother points out that even after they beat him senseless, he crawls out again to act all tough. He compares Johan to a dog that barks but can't do anything. Johan ignores them and prepares to strike the tree. The brothers laugh, asking if he thinks chopping wood all day makes him stronger. They continue their relentless ridicule. One asks if Johan thinks breaking a log is impressive, calling it a lowly trick. He scoffs, asserting that a lowborn like Johan could never have real strength. He mocks Johan's dream, telling him to keep dreaming if he thinks he will join the Guard Corps. Johan smiles patiently, though a vein pops on his forehead. The brother declares that their father would never appoint trash like Johan. He cruelly adds that if their father ever used Johan, it would only be to crack his skull and feed him to the pigs. As the insult leaves his mouth, Johan delivers a simple punch to the tree. The impact is deafening. The massive tree trunk shatters instantly upon contact, sending wooden shrapnel exploding in all directions. The top half of the tree crashes to the ground. The two brothers stare with bulging eyes, their jaws dropping in utter shock and horror. Johan turns to them slowly. His shirt is gone, revealing a terrifyingly muscular physique. He smiles with dark intent. He politely asks if his brothers said something. He invites them to come a little closer and repeat it. The brothers scream in panic. They shout that they are good and ask why they would go there. They scramble away, fleeing down the hill. They yell back that they will tell father everything. Johan watches them run, sighing deeply. He calls them pathetic idiots. He wonders how they can live with so little thought, questioning how they prepare to make a living without worrying about their own future. He decides there is no point worrying about others, and that it is time to get back to training. Suddenly, a voice comments that what they said is true. Johan pauses. Philip stands nearby, holding a large sack. He states flatly that father has no intention of appointing Johan to any position. Johan acknowledges the presence of the firstborn. He huffs, admitting he figured as much. He notes philosophically that considering their father didn't kill him, it could be worse. Philip asks if he is not disappointed. Johan assumes a fighting stance, shadowboxing against the sunset. He states that it is what it is. He resolves to find another way to make a living. Philip drops a bombshell. He tells Johan that father fears him. Johan stops mid-punch. He punches the tree lightly as Philip explains. Philip asserts that Johan is undeniably strong and that strength is a threat to their father. He explains that father wants obedient children like him. He points out that Johan is different because he insists on living by his own principles. Philip reveals that their father believes one day Johan's strength will take everything from him, just as he overthrew grandfather to take sovereignty. Johan sweats, dismissing the idea as nonsense. Philip ignores the denial. He orders his servant to bring the sack over. The servant complies, handing the bag to Lord Philip. Philip dumps the contents onto the ground. Clattering onto the grass is a set of equipment. A plain surcoat of unknown origin stored somewhere in the castle, a spare set of chest plate and a longsword, nothing else. Johan flinches, recognizing the gear immediately. He stares at the pile. Philip notes that these are the things Johan has had his eyes on for a long time. Philip states firmly that he is not like father. He declares he is not foolish enough to discard someone capable. He smiles slightly. He makes a promise that when he becomes Lord in the future, he will appoint Johann as captain of the 8th Guard. Philip turns to leave, advising Johann not to neglect his training until then. He adds a request to please stop causing trouble. Johann yells after him that he never causes trouble first. Philip raises a hand dismissively as he walks away. Left alone, Johann stares down at the armor shining in the dying light. He realizes with horror that the armor is the one from his dream. His mind races. He asks himself if he wears this, will he die the same way he did in the nightmare? A terrified vision of his own corpse flashes before him. Despite the fear, a different feeling emerges. He picks up the chest plate. He admits that for some reason he feels like he can overcome it, though he has no proof. He equips the breastplate, hearing the leather straps tight. He draws the longsword, its blade gleaming. He declares that whatever the case, he will need equipment if he wants to win. He stands fully armored, looking like a true knight against the backdrop of the darkened forest. Meanwhile, the local tavern is lively. A man slams his mug down, laughing heartily. He tells a tall tale to the skepticism of others. He claims he is telling the truth. He shouts that Sir Johann killed 50 wolves. A crowd gathers. One man points out that Sir Johann left all the pelts behind because a knight shouldn't be obsessed with money. Another villager adds to the legend. He claims Johann drew his sword solely to save Dell and Joseph. He points to a heroic mental image of Johann shining with holy light. He praises Johann as so righteous and pure, asking if he isn't the very model of a true knight. An older villager agrees, stating true Sir Johann is far more knightly than Lord Jessen, calling the current lord a drunken, woman-chasing pig. They laugh openly at their lord. One wishes aloud that the pig would just die already. Another jokes that Sir Johann should have cut Jessen's head off that day. A man slams a wooden barrel onto a table. It is Robert, Dell's father. He shouts, "Hey!" He declares drinks are on him today and tells everyone to drink as much as they want. The tavern patrons cheer, asking why. Robert yells that it is because Sir Johann saved his daughter Dell. He toasts to Sir Johann, the righteous knight. The tavern erupts in a roar of approval. In a dark corner, a hooded stranger sits with 2 other shadowy figures. The stranger asks by the way who Sir Johann might be. He remarks he doesn't think he has seen the man around here before. The villager sitting next to them scoffs. He tells the hooded figure they were bad-mouthing the Lord right in front of a complete stranger. He laughs, guessing the villagers here aren't afraid of anything. The hooded figure's hood hides a sinister grin. Red eyes glow in the shadow of the cowl. He says he finds their story quite interesting. He leans in closer, the atmosphere darkening around him. He commands the villager to tell him more about Johann Eitz. Outside under the moonlit sky, Johann walks happily through the village. He hums a tune, oblivious to the danger brewing in the tavern. He fantasizes about his future. He thinks excitedly that Philip will appoint him captain of the guards once he becomes lord. He celebrates that his golden road has finally arrived. He thinks fondly of Philip, nodding he never thought his brother could be depended on. Johann stops. He spots a figure sitting slumped against a building. He squints, confirming it is definitely a drunk man. He decides right then that a future captain of the guard can't just ignore a drunk citizen. He approaches with a cheerful smile. He calls out Sir, warning him that if he sleeps here he will catch a cold. Johann offers to escort the man home. He leans down, still smiling. The man remains silent. Johann pauses, sensing something wrong. He notices something cold pressing against his neck. His eyes widen as he realizes a knife is held to his throat. The smile vanishes from his face. He freezes, thinking what? Panic sets in as he internally screams, "What the hell?" In a fleeting moment, the man attacks with a dagger. Johann cannot see the attack coming. He groans, wondering in panic about the attacker's identity. He asks himself who he is. He wonders if this could be an assassin sent by Jessen. However, he rules out the idea that his father is behind the attack. He reasons that if it were Jessen, he would have come to kill Johann himself. He then wonders in terror if the madam was the culprit. He also rules out his brother's involvement, thinking Philip would not do this. He realizes he cannot guess who sent him. He screams at the man, asking what he wants. He thinks it is about money. He shouts that if the man is doing this for money, he will give him everything he has. He begs him to let him go. He thinks to himself, however, that in reality he does not have a single coin. The attacker replies coldly that if it is money, he has more than enough. This increases Johann's confusion and terror regarding the real motive. The attacker stops suddenly. He addresses him by his full name, Johann Eitz, and declares he will ask him a question. The attacker threatens that if his answers are not to his liking, he will slit his throat right there. Johann stands stunned by the strangeness of the situation. He wonders to himself about the madness of this person threatening his life with a question out of nowhere. Facing this question, he tries to compose himself. He summons his past experience making it to round 2 in a major corporation interview. He decides to answer perfectly and survive. The attacker announces that they shall begin. The young man prepares for the confrontation, thinking, all right, bring it on. The attacker surprises Johann with a strange comment. He points out that he has a good body. He remarks that it is hard to believe he is the son of that pig. He asks suspiciously if he is truly Jessen's son. Johann freezes from shock and confusion. He cannot believe this is the question determining his fate while the man holds his life in his hands. He curses his luck, wondering what he is supposed to say. He stammers out his answer. He says that sometimes a lion can be born from a pig's bloodline. A heavy silence prevails where the attacker shows no reaction. Johann worries, thinking he answered wrong and might die. Suddenly, the attacker explodes in loud, hysterical laughter. He declares that the answer is quite to his liking. Johann smiles and asks him to please release him in that case. The attacker refuses immediately, saying no. With a demonic look, the attacker announces to Johann Eitz that he is now his. Johann stands dumbfounded. He does not understand the meaning of these words. It turns out this man is Kegel. He is the Empire's greatest assassin and the Nisos Guild's poison master. He perfected his swordsmanship through countless assassinations. Because his movements resembled a serpent's, he later came to be known as the Venom Serpent. However, even he had problems. He could not find a successor to inherit his swordsmanship. He searched everywhere, even within the Assassin Guild itself. Sadly, he found only worthless insects lacking qualifications to succeed him were all he found. He remembers moments watching trainees fall before him. A few showed potential, but they strongly refused to learn assassin skills. They preferred to die here instead of tarnishing their honor. More than 30 heirs of knightly families died at Kegel's hands. All chose death in the name of honor rather than accepting his training. Growing impatient in his search for a successor, Kegel decided to visit the Witch of the Empire. The witch welcomed the venom serpent Kegel, who grants peaceful deaths to all. She revealed to him that the disciple he seeks resides in Eitz Castle, a small, forgotten rural territory. She added that he is one of the sons of that lecherous drunkard lord. Kegel mocked the prophecy. He described Eitz Castle as that backwater dump. He underestimated the idea of his successor being there. He noted that a gold coin could buy half that land. The witch laughed confidently. She offered him his money back if her prophecy displeases him. Despite his doubt and worry about the curse he would get from stealing a witch's coin, he decided to believe her as a last resort. Kegel wanted to believe her because he wasted too many years searching for a successor and had no time left. However, even as he stepped foot into the Eitz estate, doubt clung to him. He wondered if the one worthy of becoming his successor really exists in this place. He decided within himself to kill the brat on the spot if he didn't like him. Returning to the present moment, Kegel introduces himself as the Nisos Guild's guildmaster. He declares strictly that he has no more time to waste. He states that Johann will become his successor. He gives him two choices with no third. He says choose to die here by his hand or learn his swordsmanship. He asserts these are the only two paths he can take. Johann stands amazed. He mumbles, not comprehending the situation. He asks, stammering, how much he needs to pay to learn his swordsmanship. Kegel gets angry, explaining he is not accepting money. This increases Johann's astonishment. He can't believe a guildmaster with incredible skill will teach him for free. He rejoices greatly, considering this a jackpot. He asks Kegel eagerly what took him so long. He calls him master. He expresses that he has been waiting his entire life for someone like him. Kegel warns his student that his swordsmanship is that of an assassin. He says simply learning it will brand him as disgraceful, the shame of any knightly family. He warns he may be scorned his entire life. But Johann interrupts him with a desperate scream. He asserts he doesn't care about honor or shame at all. He begs him to teach him. Kegel agrees, saying fine. He thinks surprised that this kind of brat is a first. Johann seizes the opportunity immediately. He asks his new master if he will give him an allowance since he mentioned having plenty of money. He reminds him that he is at the age where he really needs spending money. Kegel looks at him in amazement. He realizes this brat really is something else. At Eitz Castle, Lord Jessen announces that the inspection is done and that he will be stepping out for a while. Philip bids him safe travels, confirming he will take care of the castle. However, once Jessen leaves, they exchange meaningful glances. The madam mutters with malice that no matter how much Philip struggles, this castle will be hers. Philip scoffs. He calls it nonsense, assuring her the next lord of this castle will be none other than him, Philip Eitz. The Lord Jessen screams angrily at his eldest son and wife. He expresses he is sick of them fighting and arguing all day every day. He gives them permission to do whatever they want. Philip asks his father what they shall do regarding Johann, who is yet to return. The father screams Philip's name loudly, scaring him. The father replies with indifference and cruelty, ordering him not to waste his time over that brat. He states that the weakling's death is of no concern to him. Philip apologizes to his father, claiming he understands. But once the father leaves, his features change completely. He begins wondering with worry where Johann is and what he is doing right now. At the same time in the forest near Eight's castle, Kegel decides to check how skilled Johann is. The young man asks to borrow a sword. He explains shyly that he breaks them often. The master agrees, telling him to go ahead. Kegel thinks surprised that he breaks swords. He describes him as a reckless brat. He thinks there isn't a single thing he likes about him. When Johann takes a fighting stance, Kegel wonders if he is really the son of a knightly family. He asks what that stance is, deciding this one must die as well. The student asks if he has to use swordsmanship or if he can fight however he wants. So Kegel permits him to fight as he likes. He tells him to use fists, rocks, blades, or anything because it doesn't matter. Johann smiles slightly, saying then he attacks suddenly. He shouts, "Here I go," and swings his blade. He breaks the sword easily from the force of impact. In that moment, the master realizes the error of his doubts were unwarranted. While looking at him in shock, he finally admits that the brat is monstrously strong. Kegel feels surprised by the air pressure resulting from Johann's punch. He realizes that if that punch hits him, he knows his bones and muscles will be crushed. He thinks it is like he is not fighting a human but a lion. However, he decides to fight seriously. He unleashes a snake-like fighting technique. Johann wonders in amazement at the strange movement. He asks where he is trying to go, guessing up, down, up, down. He tries to block, but the attack hits him in the face. He falls to the ground, screaming in pain. Kegel states that he knows he hit him with the flat side of the blade. He notes stunned that Johann didn't even pass out. He describes it as ridiculous. Kegel praises his student, asserting that had he been born 1,000 years earlier, he would have been called a legendary hero. Johann thanks him, calling him master. However, the master adds a warning of a critical weakness. He declares strictly that at this rate, Johann will die no matter what. This sparks Johann's shock and confusion as he asks what he means. Kegel warns him strictly that he can't control his strength and that strength will kill him. Johann denounces this talk. He says no way, rejecting the idea by stating it is not like he is attacking himself and that he is not that stupid. The master asks him to come at him again if he is confident. He offers a tempting deal to give him gold if he manages to break the master's sword instead of his own. Upon hearing the word gold, Johann's features change completely and his eyes shine with greed. His hesitation turns into unparalleled enthusiasm. He shouts gold and tells his master he better keep that promise. He dashes at tremendous speed toward the master to attack. A strong sword clash rings in the place, but the result is disappointing as his sword shatters again. Its fragments fly into his face, making him scream in pain as he grunts. He remembers bitterly, realizing this is just like when he was fighting father. Kegel explains that he just lost to his own strength. He emphasizes the necessity to learn to control his power, or else death will be his fate. Kegel shoots a fragment of the broken blade at him. Johann asks if he purposely shot the fragment there. Kegel confirms, explaining that it is a piece of cake if one is proficient at the sword. Johann finally understands. He states he needs to learn to control his strength. He vows to learn it and avoid death to achieve his dream since he is the future guard captain of Eights. He thinks that public servants avoid disaster the best. The master tells him that if he knows how to restrain his power, something like this is possible. In the blink of an eye, Kegel directs a swift blow at Johann. Johann is stunned when he sees his metal armor slit in half. What increases his amazement is seeing that the master used only the sword scabbard, not the blade. Kegel explains that if he is able to control his strength, he can slice through anything even if he is not wielding a sword. Kegel smiles demonically. He says he cannot imagine how powerful Johann will be when he is able to properly control his power. The master announces that is enough and says to get to training. When Johann looks anxious, Kegel confirms it will be difficult and he might even die. He asks if he is ready. Johann answers with great enthusiasm in the affirmative. The scene shifts to the village. Johann appears with a swollen face and clear signs of beating from harsh training. He talks to himself about the difficulty, thinking he is finally learning to hold back but notes it is so hard. He says he managed to learn not to break his sword now, but yearns to know when he gets to learn real swordsmanship. Suddenly a commotion catches his attention. He sees a group of strangers, asking himself if they are elves. He screams at the group leader, asking who they are and why they are standing there. The group leader orders him to leave at once because the area is restricted from others. Johann replies sharply, asking what. He resents a stranger dictating orders, shouting, "Who are you to tell me what to do?" The group leader laughs arrogantly. He identifies himself as belonging to His Imperial Majesty's directly affiliated mercenaries. He reveals they are the famous wolves of Akite. Instead of fear, Johann screams in amazement and joy. He shouts that he wanted a job too. He asks about the pay. One guard asks sarcastically if he wants to be one. He explains mockingly that what they get is incomparable to what the guard captain would get. He reveals they get 2 golden coins for just one job. This strikes Johann with extreme amazement as he stammers 2 golden coins. The guard warns Johann that looking like he works out just makes him a bigger target. He emphasizes that what is important is skill. Johann agrees, saying you're right. Johann drowns in his dreams. He thinks he has never seen golden coins in his life. He wonders seriously if he should change his career path, thinking it is better than a guard captain. But suddenly something strange happens. Johann's hand moves involuntarily, attempting to draw his sword. This causes him extreme shock and confusion as he asks why he just tried to unsheath his sword. The elf accompanying Kamarav notices his movement. She screams angrily, "How rude!" She considers his behavior the height of insolence. She threatens to behead him right away for daring to try and unsheath his sword in the face of Sir Kamarav. Kamarav intervenes to calm the elf Jane. He asks him calmly who he is. Johann stammers while sweating, identifying himself as Johann from House 8. Then Kamarav reveals his identity as the Holy Empire Emperor's Guard Knight, Kamarav. Johann is surprised again, finding his hand on the sword without even knowing. A terrifying feeling overtakes him he hadn't experienced before. He compares it to when he saw the Black Wolf or when his father was trying to kill him. He describes this murderous intent as suffocating. It is as if he is prey placed in front of an apex predator. Kamarav orders him to move because he is in the way. Johann moves, feeling his heart beating wildly. One soldier mocks his fear, saying, "Goodness, he is so scared." He warns him in a sarcastic tone to be careful next time. He laughs, doubting there will be a next time for him though. Jane asks her master if it is all right to just leave him here. Kamarav replies that he doesn't want to cause such a ruckus on a good day like this. He walks toward the castle gate. He mutters mysteriously that it is not yet time. Johann watches them go. He wonders in confusion why a knight of the emperor would be here and what reason he would have to be in this place. Philip appears rushing to receive the grand guest. He welcomes Karamov, introducing himself as Philip VIII, the next lord of House 8. He asks eagerly about the reason for his visit, inquiring what brings him here. The stepmother interrupts, expressing her intense admiration for Karamov. She describes him as unbelievably handsome. She presents her son John as the child who will become the real lord, ignoring Philip completely. She continues flirting with Karamov. She states that if she had known someone as wonderful as him existed, she would have married later. She asks if they should head inside the inner castle. Karamov does not reply to her. She tries to catch his attention again, saying, "Sir Karamov, are you listening to me?" However, he ignores her completely. Instead, a massive thud echoes as he slams his hand down. He asks sharply, "Where is Jessen?" Philip objects to addressing his father without titles. He states that addressing Lord Jessen like that is improper regardless of his reputation. The madam interrupts him again. She defends Karamov as the Empire's greatest knight. She claims there is nothing wrong with him calling Lord Jessen however he wishes. She announces that as the rightful lady of the house, she will handle his reception. She hints at Philip not to object. Philip looks with malice at the cunning woman. He thinks she is trying to seize an opportunity to push John as the next lord, but Karamov interrupts them with a resounding scream. He slams his fist down and orders them to shut up. He chases everyone away rudely, ordering all of them to get lost. He demands they bring him some alcohol instead. He announces coldly he will wait inside this castle until Jessen arrives. In the dark forest, Johann swings his sword with immense force, creating great air pressure. During the fighting, he remembers the dangerous, suffocating aura he felt when he met Karamov. Kegel watches him silently for a moment. He suddenly screams at him, calling him a fool for his lack of focus. He throws daggers at him. Johann blocks the daggers with great difficulty while groaning. He suffers a slight cut on his neck, appearing extremely tense. Kegel scolds his student. He states that if the daggers he just threw were laced with poison, Johann would be dead. He asks why he isn't concentrating. Johann wipes his chin and admits something feels off. He mentions the knights claiming to be the emperor's personal knights who came to the village. He argues it is illogical for them to shut the gates and control entry in the Eight's territory in this way. He says it makes no sense. Kegel asks coldly what he can do about it, suspicious or not. He explains that Karamov is the emperor's direct knight. He states he is the strongest warrior on the continent and the core power of the Holy Empire. He adds that even the armor he wears is legendary. Johann asks curiously if Karamov is stronger than his master. Kegel pauses. He admits seriously that if he ever had to face Karamov, he would turn around and run without hesitation. Kegel hits his student on the head to silence him. He asserts that results are only known after fighting. He scolds him harshly, describing him as a half-witted brat who doesn't even know the basics of swordsmanship, but is worrying about others while unable to even control his own strength. Johann regains focus. He holds the sword seriously, announcing, "I'll do it." The master sighs and signals him to come. Johann dashes, attacking powerfully. The master's voice rings out, asking him to do it again. The attacks continue with Kegel screaming again, repeatedly. Johann begins wondering in confusion why it isn't working. He notices the master uses only the sword scabbard, not even a real sword, yet he cannot cut it. Kegel explains that is right. He says it is the flow of strength. He advises his student not to swing blindly. He instructs him to transfer the flow of strength and concentrate it at the sword's tip. As Johann swings his sword, he slowly begins to understand what it meant to control his strength. Kegel notices the change immediately. He thinks the dull sound of his sword is becoming sharp. Johann executes a powerful blow different from previous ones. At that moment, he becomes certain that if he tempers everything he learned so far with the proper amount of strength, this is it. Kegel suddenly feels intense fear, thinking this is dangerous. In a fleeting moment, Kegel finds his scabbard cut without realizing what happened. Johann stands amazed. He stares at the cut scabbard. He screams with overwhelming joy, declaring he did it. He claims he has completely grasped the feeling. He laughs, saying it wasn't even that hard. Kegel downplays the achievement, humming that it must have been luck. Johann is surprised by the reaction. When Kegel calls him, he replies affirmatively with a yes. Kegel announces seriously that this time he won't hold back. He challenges him to come at him again. Johann bares his fangs. He shows a terrifying snake-like attack. The aura of a purple serpent strikes terror into the master. Johann manages to knock Kegel to the ground. Johann jumps for joy because he won again. Kegel wonders in confusion what this brat is. He realizes he clearly taught him nothing but how to control strength, yet Johann can freely use the secret sword technique Serpent's Tongue. The master is stunned that he perfectly absorbed a technique he saw briefly on the very first day. He notes Johann is using it more perfectly than he does. The old assassin's experience tells him that unless a miracle happens, Johann has already become someone he cannot defeat. Kegel mutters in amazement, calling him an absurd brat. Johann laughs maniacally, cheering that he learned the technique and secured his meal ticket. Suddenly, Kegel announces his teachings end here. He states he will leave at sunrise. Johann asks disapprovingly, huh? He notes he only just got the hang of using the sword and asks if he is ending it like this. The master assures him he already possesses everything necessary. Kegel admits grudgingly that Johann has become stronger than him in less than a week. He expresses satisfaction as long as his swordsmanship does not vanish and continues onward. He tells Johann to go live his life as he wishes. He tells Johann he has worked hard until now. Johann thanks him sincerely. He asks if he is really leaving. Kegel says yes. Johann asks if it is because he is an assassin. Kegel denies that. He explains no, it's just how he is, never staying too long in one place. Johann seizes the opportunity to ask his master, by the way, do you know anything about ominous signs? He asks about the black wolf. Kegel says yes. Johann mentions he recently encountered it. He tells him about his dream seeing his head cut off afterward. He confesses he thought Kegel was the omen when he first came for his head. Kegel replies that if he had killed him, then that would have been the ominous sign. He explains ill fortune does not arrive in a fixed shape. Before leaving, Kegel offers some advice. He advises finding a weapon suited to his strength first. He notes the need for at least Danis steel to withstand his power. Johann asks Danis, what's that? Kegel explains Danis steel is a metal imbued with magic, existing only as a legendary relic. He adds its method of creation was lost, and it can only be mined from ancient ruins. He states weapons made from it are extremely rare and only a few exist in the entire world. Johann assumes it must be expensive, right? Kegel confirms that even if he saved his whole life, he couldn't afford it. He adds he probably can't buy it with money at all. Johann asks why he recommended it then. Kegel explains he just wanted to tell him to find a weapon that suits his situation. Johann doubts his intentions. He asks if he is hiding true intentions because he is an assassin. Kegel gets angry, asking why he brings up his profession for everything, calling him a crazy brat. Kegel notes that even its color is unusual wearing Danis steel. He warns strictly that if Johann ever sees someone wearing Danis, even from far away, don't look back, just run. He adds another tip, if he doesn't know his limits, he won't live long. Johann promises to keep that in mind. Johann asks if he is leaving now. Kegel asks Johann to carve his next words deep into his bones. He advises do not fight opponents he cannot beat. He says if it is dangerous, run. But if he must fight, he must use any means necessary and kill without fail. Kegel assures him if he follows this rule, he likely won't die. He looks at Johann and commands, do not die. Johann watches him leave. He remembers the words, if it's dangerous, run. If you cannot avoid it, kill, and always survive. He promises Master he will remember those words. At Eight's castle, the madam asks if the alcohol suits his taste. Karamov smashes the cup, saying it tastes like rotten piss. He orders her to take it away. The madam gasps, nodding that was quite an expensive drink. She says it is a shame he didn't like it. She says the only alcohol better than this is in Lord Jesson's bedroom. She suggests moving to a cozy bedroom instead of staying here since he must be tired after his journey. She whispers that Lord Jesson's bedroom is very comfortable. She says she is sure he won't be disappointed. She whispers seductively that just the two of them could have a wonderful time together. She asks, don't you think? Karamov speaks suddenly, telling her to get lost. The madam stammers that Sir Karamov they don't have much time. She begs him to allow her to begin his reception, nodding the lord will arrive late tonight. Suddenly, Karamov's red eye flashes. He mutters he was getting sick of this anyway. He decides fine, he shall enjoy himself. He clamps down on her neck. He calls the entertainment slaughter. Philip watches the scene in shock, covering his mouth. Outside, Johann reaches the village outskirts. He stops, asking what's this? He sees flames devouring the entire village. He looks in shock, wondering in amazement why the village is on fire. Lord Jesson wonders what in the world is going on. He rides along a dirt path, staring at the smoke rising from the Eight's estate. One of his knights answers that he doesn't know. The knight adds that the fire looks large, so the lord should return at once. Jesson grits his teeth and grunts as he whips his reins. He rides swiftly, the hoofbeats echoing loudly. His horse neighs as he skids to a halt in front of the castle. Jesson stares at the gates. Mercenaries greet him, stating that he finally shows himself after something fun has taken place. The mercenaries sneer, remarking that he is slow and dull just as he looks. One elf soldier orders him to move faster, calling him Sir Pig. He adds that Sir Karamov isn't a very patient man. Jesson pushes open the huge wooden doors, his eyes glowing red with rage. He stops dead, asking what. Before him, the stone floor lies littered with corpses. The bodies of his servants and children lay twisted and lifeless, with blood pooling everywhere. He stares at the horrified, frozen faces of the dead. Jesson sweats, horrified by the carnage. A massive armored boot steps forward with a heavy thud. Jesson looks up. Karamov looms over him, saying he is late. Jesson. Karamov's armor shines gold and his eyes burn red from beneath his helm. Jesson demands to know what Karamov is doing right now. Karamov reaches for his sword hilt. Jesson draws his massive axe. He screams furiously, asking what does Karamov think he is doing. Karamov speaks formally. He declares Jesson is guilty of the attempted assassination of the emperor and high treason. He states that by His Majesty's decree, House Eights shall be eradicated. Jesson screams back not to be absurd. He shouts that this is a purge. He accuses them of just pinning false charges on him to execute him. He raises his axe and charges, yelling he won't let Karamov do as he pleases. Karamov draws his huge purple sword with a screech of metal. He commands his men to blow the horn. A golden knight raises a horn to his lips and blows a resounding note. Karamov orders his men to retrieve the seal of the Eight's family. He grips his glowing purple blade tightly. He commands them to purge everybody in this territory and erase this land from the map. The mercenaries charge, shouting war cries. They slaughter villagers mercilessly. Johann's previous neighbors get cut down where they stand. Flames engulf the wooden houses. The mercenaries laugh manically as they kill. A mercenary stands over Valberg, who kneels on the ground in prayer. The mercenary laughs, calling Valberg a vicious bastard. He asks if it is that hard to tell him where the pig's bastard son is hiding. Valberg remains silent, looking defiant. The mercenary smirks, saying fine. He offers to send Valberg to his god, whom he adores so much. He swings his sword down, shouting die. Suddenly, Johann appears from the shadows. He slashes through the mercenary with a swift, diagonal cut. The mercenary's body splits. He looks shocked as he falls. Johann stands over Valberg, calling out his name. Valberg looks up, asking Lord Johann what is happening. Johann helps him up, admitting he doesn't know either. He explains the imperial troops are killing villagers on sight. Valberg looks grim. He suggests it is possible that Lord Jesson has already been killed as well. Johann freezes, repeating even father. Valberg continues, saying that is not all. He gestures to the inferno around them. He explains they are burning the entire village to wipe everything out. Johann looks determined. He says damn it and decides he has to hurry back to the castle. Suddenly he hears crying. He stops, recognizing the voice. He asks if that is Dell. A small girl crawls out from behind a burning building. Johann sighs in relief, saying good, she is safe. He holds out his hand. He tells her it is dangerous here, so come to him. His eyes widen in horror. Behind Dell, a spear pins a man's corpse to a wooden stake. Dell cries, telling Lord Johann that her dad is dead. It is Robert's body, limp and lifeless amidst the fire. Johann stares at the gruesome sight. Flashbacks hit him hard. He sees memories of saving Dell, Robert hugging his daughter, the villagers drinking in the tavern, raising mugs and laughing. Robert's smiling face cheering for Lord Johann echoes in his mind. Johann grits his teeth in rage and sorrow. Johann turns to Valberg. He pushes Dell toward the priest. He tells Dell it is dangerous to stay alone. He orders her to stay with Father Valberg. Dell looks up tearfully and says okay. Johann turns and walks away. Valberg calls out to him, asking where he is going. Johann doesn't answer. Valberg shouts that he mustn't go, telling him he needs to flee. He screams Lord Johann. Johann walks forward resolutely. He reaches the square. He sees a pike with a severed head stuck on top. It is Lord Jesson Eights' head staring blankly. A wooden sign hangs below. It reads that Duke Jesson Eights has been executed for treason against the emperor. It warns that anyone who retrieves his corpse without permission will be punished for the same crime by Imperial Knight Karamov. Johann stares at his father's head with shadowed eyes. A mercenary nearby notices him. He sneers, asking if he isn't the bastard son. He mocks Johann, saying he thought he ran off. He asks if Johann came back to die. Johann says nothing. He swings his sword. The wooden pike shatters. Jessen's head tumbles to the ground. Johann's foot stomps heavily onto the red banner with the golden eagle, the symbol of the empire. The mercenary stammers, telling others to look at this brat. He orders the others not to just stand around. He screams to kill him now. Johann's blue eyes glow in the darkness. He unleashes a flurry of attacks. His sword moves like a blur. He slashes through 3 mercenaries instantly. They scream in agony. Johann continues to advance, cutting down every soldier in his path. Johann wonders to himself why he is doing this. He asks himself why he is going back to the castle. He admits Father Valberg is right and he should be running away. He knows if he goes back he will just die for no reason. He encounters Philip. Philip sits slumped against a tree, riddled with arrows. He calls out Johann's name. Johann freezes. He whispers Philip's name. Philip smiles weakly. He remarks that Johann is alive. Johann rushes to his side. He touches Philip's shoulder. He asks why he came back. Philip struggles to speak. He tells Johann to go and run away. He warns that if he stays here he will die. Philip coughs up blood. He lifts a helmet from his lap. He says he wanted to give this to Johann for when he becomes Lord one day. Johann takes the helmet. He stares at Philip's lifeless face. He looks down at the helmet in his hands. He remembers Kegel's voice. The image of the assassin appears in his mind, warning him to understand the difference in skill level. The advice echoes that if it gets dangerous, run. The opponent is the Emperor's knight. Kegel told him to run without looking back. Johann clutches the helmet. He remembers the second part of the advice. It states that but if he has to fight then he must kill. Johann stands up. He puts on the helmet. The visor snaps shut. His blue eyes glow from within the darkness of the helm. He confirms right. He declares that time is now. Johann walks up to the massive castle doors. He pushes them open with a single hand. He strides inside. The hallway is lined with mercenaries. They look surprised. One elf asks what the hell. He asks how this bastard got inside and asks where the guards are. Johann charges. He punches an armored knight in the face with overwhelming force. The helmet crumples under his fist. Johann roars Karamov's name. He punches another soldier, sending him flying. He screams for the asshole to come out. He stomps on a fallen soldier's chest, crushing it. A shadow falls over him. Karamov walks out slowly, dragging his massive purple sword. Blood drips from the tip. Mercenaries step aside. Karamov stops. He notes so the runaway son of Eights really survived. He says Johann is that guy in front of the castle back then. He asks if his name was Johann Eights. Johann stares at him through his helmet. He replies he is not in the mood to exchange names. He tells him to just think of him as one pissed-off man, calling him an asshole. Karamov sighs. He tells Johann he should have kept on running. He says if he had, he could have lived. Karamov smirks. He supposes Johann doesn't care about his life. He says fine. He tells him if he wants to die, then come at me. He points his massive sword at Johann. The purple energy hums. Johann's blue aura flares around him. Johann screams that Karamov doesn't need to tell him that. He charges forward, his fist glowing with power. He shouts that is what he was going to do anyway. He unleashes a massive punch directly toward Karamov. They start trading blows with one another. It is just like the dreams Johann was having. They get to the exact moment where Johann readied the attack and swung down. Karamov blocks it. Johann's sword gets cut by Karamov. He goes to swing for his head. Johann drops the sword. He dodges backwards before grabbing another one and charging straight in. Karamov smiles, saying that this is fun. He cuts another one of the swords in half. This happens over and over and over again. Johann is continuously grabbing swords off of the mercs that he already killed. He then dodges a big swing from Karamov while he's stuck from the dodge. Karamov comes in to finish it and swings down. Johann avoids this one. This causes Karamov to slice into one of the pillars of the castle and it begins crumbling. Karamov says this is interesting. He says he is far more entertaining than Brits was from within the smoke of the rubble collapsing. One of the mercs gets thrown at him. Karamov cuts straight through him. He says that this is truly enjoyable. He wants even more entertainment. Johann finally manages to grab another sword. He comes in with a heavy-ass swing to which Karamov blocks using his arm. But the attack pierces through his armor and also takes a chunk out of his arm, though of course the blade gets broken. Karamov is genuinely surprised as he distances himself. It takes a moment for it to set in because he just cut through his Dana steel armor. Karamov begins trembling as Johann grabs another blade. Karamov says that's impossible. He says humans are incapable of harming Dana steel, asking just who he is. Johann charges straight in once more. They continue trading blow for blow while Karamov says that he's never heard of such strength before. But it seems like that's all he is because he's easily blocking all the attacks. And even though he's on the defensive, Johann can't get in a single meaningful hit. Karamov realizes that he's a brute with only strength. There's no finesse to his attacks. He thrusts forward. Johann blocks it. Of course, the sword breaks. He quickly grabs another off the floor and readies himself once more. Karamov says that it's just as he expected. He can't even properly block a simple thrust. He's swinging purely by instinct right now. There's no technique behind him. This makes him think that Jessen never taught him real swordsmanship. He can tell that he's dangerous. He needs to finish this quickly because if he grows, he will become someone nobody can stop. And if he uses that stupid wide slash again, he'll break it, cleaving through the sword, cutting his head off with one swing. Johann then starts to do exactly as he thought, but it was just a fake as he does a quick change-up. Karamov is completely caught off guard. He goes to react. Johann uses Kegel's technique, changing his direction to Karamov's open side. The sword comes into contact with the armor. He manages to deal a very heavy blow in exchange for losing his sword. Karamov starts screaming in pain as his insides start to spill out. He sees Johann rearing back his fist. He comes in hitting him straight in the side where he just cut him. The Danis armor begins to dent. We see a massive shock wave from the punch. That's not all as it explodes out the backside, causing him to spit up a ton of blood. He stabs his sword into the ground. Nothing but blood comes out of his mouth. His eyes begin to go a little hazy. He recognizes it as Kegel's swordsmanship. This means that Johann was hiding his true skill all along and that he completely let his guard down. Johann points a broken blade at his throat, while Karamov continues to bleed out from all the internal damage. There is a literal pool of blood underneath him. He begins coughing his jaw. He lowers his blade and raises his helmet. He drops it onto the floor, asking him why he did all of this. Karamov says that it was all for his imperial majesty, as the Holy Empire is now more unstable than ever. His Majesty has unsheathed the imperial sword to correct the empire. Before he finishes his next sentence, he starts coughing violently. He holds onto his side while spitting up even more blood. He then starts to laugh. He tells Johann he's moved. For decades, he's crossed battlefields and fought countless knights, but he's never encountered anybody as strong as him before. He needs him to go with the Empire with him, as His Majesty needs a strong talent like him right now. The Empire's endless gold will grant him glory. He shall receive vast and fertile lands. He'll see to it as well that His Majesty will appoint him as an imperial knight. He becomes the imperial sword. He'll get anything he wishes. Johann thinks about endless gold, but says that it's strange. It's the life that he once dreamed of, but for some reason he doesn't feel anything. He looks down at Karamov. He tells him that he refuses. Karamov's confused, asking why. Johann says that he has not only killed his family, also innocent serfs, people who did no wrong. Karamov surprised, asking if he's really declining his offer over mere serfs. He grits his teeth out of frustration, asking why their deaths even matter. Then says that it must be because his mother was a low-born serf, that insect blood has tainted him. He needs to understand that the world's law is that the strong drink the blood of the weak. Johann grits his teeth and apologizes to Kegel, saying that he can't control his strength anymore. He swings, hitting Karamov in the face, sending him flying backwards. He doesn't stop there as he comes in with blow after blow. He asks why he thinks that these were worthless lives and if the Emperor means that much. Why they think they're that great to begin with, to the point that they get to judge who deserves to live and who doesn't. The Danis armor begins to start warping on his skull. As blood fills Karamov's eyes, the last sight he sees is none other than Johann. Each blow getting heavier and heavier as he is turning him into a meat crayon. Eventually, he's just twitching on the floor. Johann stands up with his fist covered in blood. Karamov, though somehow still alive, begins coughing. Johann starts to walk away. Karamov calls him a fool, saying that he should have taken his offer because now it's too late. The one who broke the Emperor's sword will only know suffering from this point on. Johann looks down at him as his hand goes limp, as those were his final words. Johann says this world accepts death so naturally. All he ever thought about was to make money and survive. But they slaughtered everybody in his territory, including his family, and then tried to erase it. So even if the whole world becomes his enemy, he only did what had to be done. He'll never regret his choices. Regardless of what anyone says, this is how he plans to live.